Tourism Month comes to an end today. We are now joined via Zoom by Tshifhiwa Tshivhengwa, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Tourism Business Council of South Africa, to weigh in on the recovery of businesses in the tourism sector, the impact of load shedding as well in the sector. Very good afternoon to you, Tshifhiwa. Thanks very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to your viewers.
All right. So, of course, we're coming from dealing with the pandemic and the tourism industry having been obviously hard hit by that. And now we're standing in a situation where, the tourism industry must now deal with the issues and the impacts of load shedding. Let's talk about this. Firstly, the recovery process from the pandemic, or, while we're actually still in that pandemic, but also then having to now deal with a secondary problem.
Well, the recovery of the tourism sector, it's been going, better than projected in terms of the domestic travel. And also we have seen from the statistics released by SABC this week, the migration statistics, it shows that, there are more people that are coming into South Africa from various markets, led by of course, European markets and then North American markets. And of course, USA is doing rather well in terms of the recovery. And also from the domestic front, the fact that now we can have events, businesses are traveling, government is back to traveling, and as well as leisure travel. It means that our recovery is on a better pace than what we've seen over the past 2 years. Now, when we then talk about, versus 2019, which we deem as a normal year, we have seen that, from the figures that we have ourselves, that we're sitting at around 75% versus 2019. So there's still a long way to go, especially for the international markets, especially for the events and conferencing sector, and also for corporates to go back to what they used to do.
Yeah, and I always wonder, when we're dealing with, international, visitors, how the concept of, rolling blackouts or load shedding is explained, and why we don't have, electricity at the hotel. I mean, I assume many of the hotels do have, backup generators and so forth, but how do you explain, the fact that there's 5 hours without electricity?
Well, look, in the past when load shedding started, we could explain it because it sounded like it was going to be a temporary problem or short-term problem that we're going to fix. But now we've been with load shedding for quite a number of years, and it's becoming more and more difficult to explain. And it's because, visitors want the experience that they've paid for. And also they want to get to where they need to get to on time. And with load shedding, you have a situation where people are making it late to the airport, hotels and bed and breakfast and attractions, car rentals and many others needs to, have put generators to make sure that the lights are kept on. But the fact that the petrol price have gone up and other input costs have gone up, it simply means that it's very expensive to run. Yeah. And especially when you have stage 6 load shedding. And also if you look at small businesses, it becomes very, very difficult to run because we just don't have that money to plow back to generate energy, because we've been through the pandemic, most of the businesses have been closed and there's just simply no money. We've been trying to recover and this doesn't help.
Yeah. All right. Thanks very much for this discussion. Then Tshifhiwa Tshivhengwa, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Tourism Business Council of South Africa, weighing in on the recovery of businesses in the tourism sector, having to bear, of course, with the impacts of load shedding in that particular sector.